Hello there, Mr. Flores here, your favorite teacher, and today in math we look closer at multiplication and division. We learned today that multiplication is nothing more than repeated addition. For example, 2 times 2 is 4. What we can do is take the 2 and repeatedly add it 2 times to get the answer 4. Let's look at 6 times 3. We'll take the number 6 and repeatedly add it 3 times. So 3 6s add up to 18. Let's look at another one. 3 times 6. We'll take the number 3 and repeatedly add it 6 times. So now 6 3s add up to 18. Hey, look at that. Both 6 times 3 and 3 times 6 are 18. As a matter of fact, 6 times 3 equals 3 times 6. This is because they say that multiplication is commutative, which is a fancy way of saying that you can move the numbers around in multiplication problems and get the same answers. Let's look at another example of commutative multiplication. We'll take 9 times 5 and then move the numbers around to make 5 times 9. In 9 times 5, we'll take the number 9 and repeatedly add it 5 times. And in 5 times 9, we'll take the number 5 and repeatedly add it 9 times. Let's see, do I have enough 5s here? 2, 3. Oops, I need to add one more 5. There we go. If we add up all the 9s, we'll get 45. And if we add up all the 5s, we'll get 45. So when you're working with multiplication, remember that you can always move the numbers around and you'll get the same answer. Now let's look at division. Division is almost the opposite of multiplication. Division is repeated subtraction, but with some special cases. But before we look at these special cases, let's look a little closer at division. Let's look at the division problem 12 divided by 2. We'll take the number 12 and repeatedly subtract 2 until we reach 0 or without going into the negative numbers. So 12 minus 2 is 10. That's one subtraction. 10 minus 2 is 8. That's 2 subtractions. 8 minus 2 is 6. That makes 3. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. And 2 minus 2 is 0. There. It took 6 subtractions to reach 0, so the answer to 12 divided by 2 is 6. Okay, let's look at another one. 10 divided by 5. This means that we'll take the number 10 and repeatedly subtract 5 from it until we reach 0 or without going into the negative numbers. So 10 minus 5 is 5, that's one subtraction. And 5 minus 5 is 0, that makes 2 subtractions, which is what we know the answer is, 2. Let's look at another example. 10 divided by 3. Let's see what the answer to this one is. We'll take the number 10 and repeatedly subtract 3 from it until we reach 0 or without going into the negative numbers. So 10 minus 3 is 7, that's one subtraction. 7 minus 3 is 4, that makes 2 subtractions. 4 minus 3 is 1, that makes 3 subtractions. And hold on. 3 is larger than 1, and if we subtract 3 from 1, we'll have to go past 0 and into the negative numbers. So we're as close to 0 as we can get without going into the negative numbers. So what's our answer? It'll be 3 with 1 left over, or a remainder of 1. We say 3 remainder 1. We could also say 3 and 1/3, but that's a different lesson for later on. Think we got it? Let's try another one to make sure. Let's try 15 divided by 4. We'll take the number 15 and repeatedly subtract 4 from it until we reach 0 or without going into the negative numbers. So 15 minus 4 is 11, that's one subtraction. 11 minus 4 is 7, that's two subtractions. 7 minus 4 is 3, that makes three subtractions. But now we see that 4 is larger than 3 and therefore can't subtract without going past 0 or into the negative numbers. So our answer will be 3 remainder 3. One thing we have to remember is that division is not commutative. So we can't move the numbers around and get the same answer. 12 divided by 2 does not equal 2 divided by 12. In fact, 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 2 divided by 12 is 1/6. 6 and 1/6 are different numbers, and therefore different answers. So don't switch the numbers around in a division problem. You'll get a different answer if you do. Let's look at one of those special cases. What if we took 0 and divided it by 2? We'll take the number 0 and repeatedly subtract 2 from it until we reach 0. Hold on, wait a minute. We're already at 0. So there's nothing to subtract. The answer would then be 0 since we didn't do any subtracting. As a matter of fact, if we divide 0 by any number, the answer will always be 0. Here's another special case. Let's look at 10 divided by 0. We'll take the number 10 and repeatedly subtract 0 from it until we reach 0, or without going past 0 into the negative numbers. I know that might sound silly, but I want you to see what happens. 10 minus 0 is 10. That's one subtraction. 10 minus 0 is 10. That makes two subtractions. 10 minus 0 is 10. That makes three subtractions. 10 minus 0 is 10. That makes four subtractions. At this rate, we'll never reach 0. I could go on forever. In fact, any number divided by 0 is something we'll never reach. In math, we call this undefined because we just don't know how to figure it out, or because we could never find out. Well, I hope this recap of today's lesson will help you out. Please remember to turn in your homework at the end of the week. Until then, see you next time.